Today we're going to learn how to make very simple folded paper stars. You'll need some kind of cutting implement. In this case I'm using a craft knife. And this is a bone folder. You can also use scissors if that's preferable to you. You'll need paper with the templates provided for the class. I've printed them out on the reverse side of the paper. This is the 5-sided, the other one was the 6-sided, and then these are the two smaller templates. If you can't print them off onto the paper, go ahead and print them off into printer paper and cut them out from that. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this video, but I'll give you a quick discussion about how you would go about that. You'll want to take the paper that you're going to use and make sure that it is face down because you want to cut from the back and print out onto a piece of printer paper the template that I've provided. And you essentially tape those down together and then use your knife to cut them out, or you cut them out with scissors. It's harder to hold the two pieces of paper together if you're using scissors. But then you will go through and essentially use your ruler to trace on or to draw on an approximation of the lines provided in the template for where you need to make your folds. It's very straightforward. All of the lines come from either the corners or the points of the star. So if you can't print it out, go ahead and do it this way. If you can print it out, that's best, but make sure that you're printing the template on the back of the paper because you don't want to see the lines after you've folded it. Now let's get started. This is a scoring device. In this case, it's a needle piercer and some twine. You don't necessarily need a scorer. You just need something with an edge that you can use, even the back of a knife. So you can see that this piece of paper I printed off onto the back. It's kind of thicker card. You can use standard paper. This is a thinner style of paper. You can use whatever you've got, whatever will fit into your printer. The thicker it is, the better it will hold a crease, but it can be as simple as regular paper. Now I've got a ruler which you can also use. With the ruler and the knife, I'm just going to go around and cut the star out from the paper. This paper, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it while I do this. You just need to line up your ruler, if you're using one, with your actual lines on the edge and then cut out the outline of the star. This paper is a little bit special. It's about twice as thick as standard printer paper and comes from the art store. You just want anything that will hold a crease. Doesn't matter what. This paper is the same color on either side, you can see. So what you'll need to do, because I'm cutting, this is the back, remember, is you want to take that ruler on those solid lines and on the dashed lines, you're going to score them. Now I'm using here the actual pointed piercer, but you can also use the back edge of a knife. This is not the cutting edge, this is the back edge. You just need to score it along those lines. And this is why you print it off. It makes it a little bit easier. If you can't print it off onto your paper, then go ahead and print it off onto regular paper, and you can trace it on to whatever you're going to cut out. Now the side with the printed lines is the back again, so what you'll see is the front. We just go down and score every one of these lines. The ones that are dashed and the ones that are solid, you'll fold them in different ways, and we'll get to that as soon as we're done with all of this. But just make sure you press in hard enough that you actually leave a line, but you don't cut through the paper. You can sort of feel it. And you can go around then and start pressing them in. The solid lines, what you'll do is end up making them into what we call valley folds, because that looks like a valley. But from the other side, it would be a mountain fold. So you just go around and do it each way. If you can't remember where you scored them, you can do what I'm doing here, which is just pressing your finger in to make sure that you actually scored it sufficiently. This will just help you get a good, solid, clean, crisp crease. So I'm lining them up and going back and making sure that I do the dotted lines as I've already done the solid ones. The 6-pointed star is quite easy because you only need to do each set of lines 3 times, because you can just go from each point as I'm doing here. With the 5-sided star, you can't go directly from one side to the other. So I'm just touching here to make sure that I know where my lines are. So now I can finish the folding. So remember the dashed lines, you want to fold towards you, so you're pushing the paper away from you, so you make a mountain fold. You can go ahead and pinch from the sides and then towards the center. I'm just pinching them a little bit. I'm not going all the way from side to side. You can do it as hard as you would like to get the effect you're looking for. You can go back around once you've made all of those folds and just ensure that they are properly folded and as tight as you would like your crease to be. You can fold them all the way over from side to side if you want. I'm not pushing them all the way from each side here just because I want a slightly more subtle effect. It's easiest to do one set first, so do the dashed or the solid lines. With the solid lines, you're making the valley folds, so the pieces of paper are being pressed towards you, but the crease is on the side away from you, as you can see here. Just be careful about the very tips of those points. You want to make sure that those are nice and clean and crisp so that your star looks excellent. And you can flip it over at any time and just work from one edge or the other, just making sure you're folding it in the right way. This will start to give you this really lovely folded star appearance that we're looking for. And you can do so much with these. You can turn them into individual decorations, you can hang them on a tree, you can turn them into birthday decorations, you can make a garland out of them, you can make them with your kids just as a fun project. The paper folder, or bone folder in this case, is really helpful here for getting those creases in, because it doesn't actually damage the paper but helps you ensure that crease is where you want it to be. This is a project that has a lot of resilience, so if you're very robust about your folding, or if you mess up, it's really fine. You can really sort these out quite easily. So it's a great thing to do with kids or with people who aren't terribly experienced at this. So you want to go ahead and make sure that all of these line up, and you can just press them out. And make sure you do the last one. And you can see you get that really great sort of, each side is reflecting a different wavelength of the color, and so there's shadows and light. And particularly because these are paper, if you punch a little hole at the top of them with the paper punch, you can then string them up somewhere. And so if they're outside, for instance, they can flutter quite nicely and really draw attention to it. Great, so that's the large one done. You can see how beautiful that looks. Perfect. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and do what I said before, which is make a little hole at the top. You can use a hole punch, something sharp as I'm doing here. This is actually a paper punch, so that's great and useful for that. And it's super easy to then string them up with the fishing line. See, doesn't that look great? The next star we're going to do is the 5-pointed star. So this is one that is not actually completely symmetrical, and so it's much harder to go from one side to the other. You need to make 6 creases for each thing that you're going to do. So again, we're going to do it the exact same way we did it before, which is take your ruler, line it up with the edge, and then cut out the star. Again, you can use scissors for this if that's easier for you. And you can see that this one is very particular. The back is of different color because the front is actually what I want to be seen, and it's a much richer, darker, shiny pink actually. So go ahead and finish these up, taking each one out. This can be a little bit easier to do if the card is thinner. Sometimes if it's thick, you have to press it down. You can see that lovely sparkle, isn't that great? Then again, we're going to do the same thing we did with the last star, except this time you cannot do it all the way across because this is not actually a symmetrical star. So you make sure that you're doing on each line is going ahead and creasing them, again using the back of your knife or something sharp to score it. I'm going to do this twice because that just makes sure that I've done what I need to do, because this is quite thick card. Go ahead and score all of those to that center point. Feel them out if you don't remember what you did already. And then when that's done, we'll start to fold it. So remember, each time, same as last time, that dotted line gets folded towards you and the solid line gets folded away from you so that your points point out and each arm of that star is folded in. This one is not symmetrical, so you can't fold it exactly over, but you can certainly fold each bit, a bit like origami, pressing them towards each other. Make any adjustments you feel necessary using the bone folder if you need it. And there we are. Another lovely folded paper star. Now I'm going to repeat this process with the smaller and medium-sized stars. One of the fun things you can do with this is when you use different colors, you can then put the smaller ones on top of the larger size up to make these great sort of dual creations. You can do 3 or 4 or 5, as many as you want. I love these because it gives you this lovely outside stroke and sort of heavy fill in the center that allows you so much more creativity.